to Raunchy Power Hour, a book club for discussing romance from the erotic to the erroneous. As always, this is an explicit podcast and contains strong language, adult themes, and sexual content. If you are sensitive to these things, we urge you calmly but sincerely to turn off your radio now. This month, we are reading The Misses by E.L. James. This is part 1 of The Misses. This podcast will contain spoilers through chapter 17. If you want to read along with us, stop listening now. It's okay. We'll wait for you to come back. This book contains themes of death, sex trafficking, domestic abuse, and rape. You have been warned. I'm your producer, Ashlyn.
I'm your British socialite, Sydney.
And I'm one of the countless cum rags laying around Maxim Trevelyan's bedroom that he apparently never threw away despite having been married to another woman for 3 months.
Now get ready to get raunchy.
Hello, Sydney.
Hello, Lauren.
I got a fucking question to ask you.
I got a text.
I got a text.
All right. I'm scared.
If you could rewrite the entirety of The Misses, what plot would you give it?
Anything.
Because it needs,
Any plot.
It needs one. It needs one.
plot. The plot I would have given is this is a great question because there's like literally it's endless. The possibilities are endless. I would have given it the actual plot would be Maxim taking Alicia back to England. Maybe they just did that little wedding ceremony where she gets a passport and then comes back to the country. Then we actually get her progress through applying to music schools and her struggling to do that and him learning to be an earl and then also being like, oh, we're engaged. We should plan a wedding. And then the climax would be like their wedding. Where suddenly Mommy Dearest appears, and that's the big climax.
Pretty like it better than what we read.
Yeah, I know, right? What would you do? What would you put in the mister? I mean, dumb misses.
I think what we've been handed in this book is so limited in scope, in creativity, in effort, if you will, that anything, literally anything, I think would have been a more entertaining read.
Oh, what if Kit wasn't dead?
He comes back from the grave and it was like a witness protection program. I faked my deaths, like Gossip Girl situation. Exactly.
And then he came out as gay because he didn't want to be married to Caroline, which is why he didn't leave her anything.
Exactly. Not too dissimilar to what I was going to say, actually. I was actually going to keep largely the same plot that occurred within The Misses, the very little that we got. So, they come back from Albania, blah, blah, blah. It's a whole bunch of like failure at domestic fluff, whatever. Except with one added detail where I would make E.L. James a character in this world. And then in every single scene in the background, have some kind of like minor misfortune happen to her. Nothing aggressive, just like slip on a banana peel. Maybe get like a big old coffee stain down a white shirt, the usual, right? And it's in every single chapter until the point where it becomes a Where's Waldo situation where the entire book is about E.L. events and not the actual book itself.
I would love that. I think that's also a very good, I think much better plot than, what we got. Because this was, guys, usually I'm all like, guys, Usually I'll be like, I'll say, yeah, go read the book, go to experience this. You can skip this one. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your valuable time in your life where you could be reading something else. Don't read this. We did it for you.
No. The book, but not the episode. Because we worked too hard and suffered too much to have this skipped.
Yeah, just listen to us rant about it and laugh along with us, but skip the book and just take our word for it.
God.
And with that, I'll hop into some general info because Lauren is going to be taking first half of our review today. So let me jump in. Well, actually, fortunately, because at least you have the majority of the actual plot that begins.
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. Who knows? All right, so hopping into it, we've got The Misses by E.L. James, which is first published back on the 20th of June of 2023, so last year, which is around the time we got blocked by E.L. James herself. Aww. I'm about to say, if y'all don't remember, we got blocked by her when we were promoting our episode of The Mister, and she was mentioning The Misses, and then, yeah, we got blocked real hard. I just also wanted to be known that not only do the Raunchy Power our socials get blocked, but our personal socials, like all three of us. Yeah.
Our personal Instagram accounts.
We were only able to find out because our unpaid intern, Christina, looked for us. But this book is 458 pages, which it means, yes, this is longer than The Mister somehow. On Goodreads, we've got an average review of 3.69 stars out of 4,904 when we first started recording. There's now 4,905 because I wrote a review. And then on Storygraph, we have an average rating of 3.14 stars out of about 154. So this is just a literal follow-up to the New York Times bestseller, The Mister, by the author E.L. James, who wrote 50 Shades of Grey. And if you want more info on that stuff, go back and listen to our first two episodes that were on The Mister. We actually kind of go more in depth with that, but this book gets our whole attention this time, guys.
We're locked in.
I am locked in. And before I go into characters, I just want to read two reviews from from Goodreads that really led the way for what this book was. And the first one I have is from Mike, who rated it a 1 star and said, "I don't know what's more exciting, the exhilarating visa and passport intrigue, or just the kill me now, this book is awful."
We need to invite Mike on the podcast.
I love Mike. I love you, Mike. And this is also, so this is the top review I saw for number 1 stars on Goodreads. Her name is Cassandra, and she said she was doing this for science. And she said, first of all, this being erotica is not right. The only thing that would put this in this category is that these people have sex like 2 times every chapter. And if you're here for, it's an FSOG. I don't know what that means. Spice?
I have no idea.
I have no idea what that means.
50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey, Spice, move along. Because you're not going to get that here. So yeah, those 2 reviews, great reviews. Love you guys for that. Because that basically sums up how I feel about this book too. Anyway, we're going into characters now. Our lovable, remarkable, very memorable characters.
Can I make a request of you?
Okay.
Would you deliver the explanation or introduction of these characters as if we're introducing them on a British reality dating show?
Okay, I can try my best.
I will beatbox with my muted mic so it doesn't interfere with audio.
Hello, and welcome back to The Misses. This is a book all about this universe, and it's not really good, but it's okay. So here are our main players. We have Alicia Damachi. She is known as quiet, self-conscious, and a piece of wet paper.
This is brilliant.
And then we have Lord Maxim Trevelyan, aka a manslut. And he's just kind of some rich, horny guy.
A
and
brand
those
new
two
manslut enters the villa.
and these two are our main couple, and they've coupled up in the first book. Moving on, we've got Shipresha Damachi and Jacques Damachi. I'm trying. I don't know.
No, I don't know either.
And these are Alicia's parents. They live in Albania.
Mom and Dad in it.
That's about all we know about them. I'll be real.
True.
We also have Caroline, who is Maxim's ex-fling and also his brother's widow.
Gasp.
Gasp from the audience. And this is kind of the last important person. We also have Marianne, who is Maxim's sister. She's a doctor. We also have his mom, but she comes up like near the end.
Little mummy got herself a boyfriend, and we get to see her live out her cougar dreams.
Exactly. And then the other characters that are brought up, but they're not as important. So let's get into the book.
And this time, Rachi Power Hour. We're doing this. Full disclaimer. I took these notes not usually as organized as I normally would, where normally we'll just label per chapter what happens. Our producer, Ashlyn, our lovely Ashlyn, has done the courtesy of that. However, I think all three of us, just in a state of mindless boredom and zombification, just decided to go free form with our thoughts in a way that I don't think truly makes sense. And so I'm going to be trying to do a job of piecing my notes together with her notes and any contributions that Sydney wants to make that both of us seem to have missed, and just hope that we piece together enough of whatever the hell's happening for you all to understand really the nothingness that occurred in this book. We're going to be saying a lot and then nothing at the same time. And I just want you all to be prepared for that and to know that this plot summary is not going to be good, but neither is this book, so we don't care.
We will try our best. But as Ashlyn, I think, texted to me one day while we were ranting about this book, this is the longest epilogue I've ever read. That is how you can sum it up. It's just a very long epilogue that they decided to stretch out.
Because we hit the record button, Sydney, you asked a wonderful question, which I know was a joke, but actually I think could be a legit question of why was this written? Why? Yeah. Truly, why did we get a sequel? I don't know if you have any theories. My theory, and this just could be because I'm a fan fiction fiend, but I wrote in my notes, I have a feeling that E.L. James, based on her fan fiction writing past, is attempting her novel length take of a quote domestic fluff or a quote no plot AO3 tag that you may see in fan fiction. But the difference in why The Misses does not work for me is that most of the successful fics under those two tags are usually one shots or they're short chapters, and they also have characters and settings from a pre-established world that are already immensely appealing to readers. So you have that.
They also have characteristics.
Exactly. You already have this built-in investment, even when there's no real plot. And so you're automatically set up to be successful in having your readers engage with it. But this book is just literally I don't believe in the concept of blue balls. But if I had to imagine what it's like having blue balls, this book would be my reference. Yeah. And that's why this doesn't work.
There's just nothing good I can really say about this book. There's absolutely nothing. And I feel bad for shitting on it sometimes because I know there's There's a lot of 5 stars, and I hate to tell y'all. Who left 5 stars on this book. You have a bad taste in books. You need to read other things.
You got
I'm
bad taste.
Kidding. I hate to tell you. There's so many other good things that you could read. That is not this. And I get it. Yeah. Escapism into a world. Like, I get it. Like, sometimes we just read stuff to get out of our brains and get out of our reality and get into something. What are you jumping into here? There's nothing of substance. There's nothing for you to latch onto.
No, this is a reformed fuckboy with his trophy wife and doing nothing.
Yeah. So
and that's it.
Yeah. So like I said before, don't waste your time. My hypothesis also is that E.L. James' editor hates her because I don't like this feels like the first draft of a book. I hate to say it this way, but it's the first draft of a book written by a high schooler who's gone into their creative writing class.
That is so true. No, truer words have never been spoken.
Yeah. Like it feels like the first draft, and I would be scared to read what the first draft of this was.
If there even was a draft, like
yeah, to be honest.
Because I know, like, with the practice of fan fiction, or at least the way that I would write it, is you usually just like kind of edit as you go, chapter per chapter, and then it all just like comes together. And so the concept of drafting, I think, is not super common because of that. And I wonder if her writing style is the same. Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Who's to say? But as much as we would like to get down and dirty in the mind of E.L. James to know what the hell she was thinking when she was writing this book, instead, we're gonna have Maxim Trevelyan back up in our guts, which is so unfortunate considering he's hooked up with half of England. It's fine. Speaking of, are we ready to dive into this? Because
sure.
I gotta rip the Band-Aid off, I guess.
Yeah, we do. Oh, before we do, let me reveal my tabs for this episode.
Yes.
So I had to use 2 different tabs because I ran out of one because I tabbed it too often. But it was Maxim's red flags. We have eye roll moments. So it's when I physically I rolled my eyes over the text. I made myself laugh. So this is my favorite, is when I make myself laugh at whatever's being written. We have I hate my life, which is not this is awful and I don't want to read this. Then we also have James is trying to redeem. So it's like she's trying to fix the issues that she had in the first book with the second book by just overdoing it. And then last but not least, we have my favorite tab, which is I wanted to / I did throw the book.
That's perfect.
Yep.
I wish I was that organized.
What else can you say? And let me just say, guys, there's a lot of pink tabs in this.
I'm sure.
There's a lot of purple.
Last book was a nightmare. Like, Maxim was a walking, living, breathing crisis. And I mean, it's not as bad in this book, I would argue, simply because he's no longer for the streets. But it's rough. It's still rough.
He still is really bad. Like, he's still a mess because he's still he brings up multiple times that he's still grieving Kit's death, but he's putting all of his love and attention onto Alicia, and I'm like, that's not good. But you know what? It's time to get into it so you guys can see what we mean.
Oh boy, howdy! This is gonna be rough. I apologize to my fellow podcasters. I apologize to the audience. I apologize to anyone that read this book for different reasons, but still.
Listen, you were the reason we got into this in the first place, so.
Y'all were the ones who chose to read this one, though, so let it be known. Let it be known. I did not ask to read this one. In fact, there is audio evidence of me protesting this.
I feel like, though, when E.L. James blocked us, we had no choice. Our hand was forced.
Well, she'll probably never hear this episode because she's hiding behind her iron walls of her BDSM palace. But
I'm putting quotations around BDSM.
Vanilla Sex Palace, excuse me.
Yeah, basically.
God. But here we go. So for fans of the last book, you may recall that the very first book, The Mister, opens up with a dream sequence, a nightmare sequence to be specific, of Alessia running through, I think it was like a shopping mall.
I forgot.
This opening sequence gave me PTSD. I was like, no, again, this time for the misses, we're diving into Maxim's bad dream. So he's having basically a fever dream about Kit, who is his brother that passed away kind of off screen in the first book. So we've never met Kit while he was alive. He dies in a motorcycle accident. It's all kind of question marked around his death, but whatever, right? So he has this dream about identifying Kit's body in the morgue or some shit. And it's like this haunting, sort of like Kit's talking to him from beyond the grave, of like, thou must assume the Trevor-thick responsibilities or whatever. I don't know. I imagine it's like an Obi-Wan Kenobi, like Leia recording through the hologram. I don't know. He wakes up, bricked up, because when is he not? And long story short, he wakes up really exactly right where the end of the Mister occurred. So as a reminder, the Mister ended with Alessia, Maxim, all in Albania. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, it's not even like a courtesy. And this just shows how like slow this is going to be for the rest of the book, that it literally picks up right after the last one. And you're just like, oh, shit. They didn't even give us a time jump.
It is quite literally the morning after. Like, it's the next day. It's so awful. But yeah, the ending of the last book has them in Albania because a dude named Anatoly who was Alessia's previous betrothed, like kidnapped her and like put her in a trunk and like drove her to Albania. And then Maxim took his damn sweet time trying to rescue her. And he was like, let me pack my running shoes. And then he got him over here. And then he's meeting the parents. And then they like faked this pregnancy to get her out of marrying Anatoly, because apparently her dad is really like traditional with these things. And that was the only way she was going to breathe. Whatever. It fucking doesn't matter. They're in Albania. And so they wake up. Basically, Alessia, they're all okay. This is already off to a great start.
Yeah.
This is so terrible. So, okay. So her parents are really traditional, right? This whole book can be summed up in Albania bad. Albania cultural differences bad, right? Yeah. That's basically the impression that we get. Her parents are really traditional, and so there's this plot line where Maxim and Alessia are scared of like sharing a room. They're not supposed to have sex before marriage. And with her being pregnant, apparently that like it shouldn't be having sex anyway, or they wouldn't need contraceptives.
Yeah, I was just like, she's already pregnant. Like,
yeah, it's a weird thing.
Also, throughout that plot line, we get Maxim being like this feels so like 1800s and so weird, and her dad's like really sexist, and he's like so backwards, and he doesn't treat women correctly. And I'm like, is this the same Maxim from the first book? This is the same Maxim from yesterday, assumingly?
I know. It's like he finally like settles down with someone, and it's like he now respects women.
Exactly. It's when like, I'm not going to say that. It's political. Never mind.
That's okay. But yeah, like another example of this that happens in this opening chapter is a quote from Maxim where he says, quote, culturally, her dad, being Alessia's dad, and I are poles apart, ... He needs to be dragged into the 21st century, which ironic coming from Maxim of all people.
Coming from Maxim. That's actually where I wrote this insert about like, it's like, oh, coming from you, Maxim. And I just wrote, honestly, this is like a big thing. And this is where that tab of feel like E.L. James's backtracking really came in clutch, because it feels like she's just trying to be like, oh shit, gotta fix that real quick. We gotta make people like him.
Exactly. But it ain't working. You ain't fooling us, Jamesy.
You didn't fool me. You didn't fool me. You could tell he didn't respect other women. But now that he's got a wife, he's like, ah, shit, women are people.
He's... Ah, shit. They're not just warm bodies for me to lay my seed. I need to be incapacitated for this. Okay. So yes, he says their culture, their poles apart. And speaking of that, apparently Alessia's dad has decided to arrange a wedding for Alessia and Maxim because, you got to be married to have a kid. So the wedding is in a week from the start of the Misses. And I need you all to understand that the plot line of the Mister, the book that occurs literally right up until the Misses, occurs over the span of 2 months.
Yeah.
So it's not even that they've been dating for 2 months. They've just known each other for 2 months. And they're about to get married, which I thought Twilight's timeline is fast. This is a whole new level.
This is breakneck speed. I'll also say, listeners, the reason I tell you not to read this book is because the first part, that's just the wedding, takes fucking forever when it did not have to. And I was so pissed off throughout this entire section. I'm like,
oh yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll get into it, but they literally spend multiple chapters just describing the people who show up for both wedding parties.
3, 4, 5. I'm counting how many chapters we have of the wedding. That's just the wedding.
Incredible. We could probably do this plot summary for the entire book all in one episode if we're being real. Like, it's just that bad.
Okay, it's 7 chapters, but it feels like so much longer.
I can't wait for this to be the first episode in like a year that clocks under an hour.
Yeah.
God. So yeah, the wedding is in a week. And long story short, Maxim, being, the European centrist, I guess he is worried about the legitimacy of his marriage license if they wed in Albania. So basically, he
thrilling storytelling, talking about the legalities of visas.
I know. Doesn't your pussy just really throb?
I'm so wet.
You know what? Okay. This is going to be a nonsensical plot summary. I don't give a fuck. Okay. I was going to save this for much later. We're going to talk about it now.
Go ahead.
I would be totally okay with what occurs in this book and the sex scenes being the way that they are if this book was not self-proclaimed by E.L. James as being like an erotica. That is what this book is called. If it was just like a romance, I'd be forgiving. But it's an erotica, and they literally like move like 2 worms like in the dirt and their sheets, and that's all we get.
Literally, I counted the positions they do. They do missionary, they do baby, and then she gets on top. That's it. That's the erotica that you're coming in for. Go read I Spin at Barbarians instead.
Hey now, don't forget the Call of Duty scene that'll be in part 2 of every recap, in which they make jokes about duty and sex for like 20 times in 3 pages.
Don't get me started about that scene. I will go into depth about how, okay, I'll go into it, but I was reading it and I was on FaceTime with my partner while he was playing video games, and I just like was reading it and I just went, whoa! Like,
she really said, haha, I'm clever for this joke. Let me copy paste 20 times.
And then I just went, what? And I went, he plays Call of Duty. He just went, that's a red flag. And I was just like, see, this is why I'm dating you.
Unless it's Black Ops, it's a red flag. I rest my case.
Right. Sorry, controversial.
It's fine. Ghost is hot anyway.
But the whole talk about the visa and like if the marriage is legitimate and all that, I was just like, oh my God, I do not care.
Literally, like if I wanted to watch this shit, I would watch 90 Day Fiance, where at least they're gonna get into fights and like drama and tea to like cover up the whole like visa like
exactly.
green
but then
card
like throughout the whole
conversation.
thing, Maxim's like, "Do you want to do this?" And Lucy's like, "Yes, I want to do this. Are you sure you want to do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want to do it." And I'm like, "Okay."
You hang up. No, you hang up.
hang
No, you
up.
hang up.
Oh my god.
I want to peel off my skin.
Oh my god, yeah. Can I also say in chapter 2, E.L. James writes the line.
Yes.
So he's talking about the two friends that he's inviting to the wedding. Do I remember their names? No. He literally writes the line, "They're my oldest friends." And God, it is so fanficky, just like how to write that. Because there's so many other ways to indicate that these two people are very important in your life and that they are your oldest friends. You can go, yeah, my oldest friends. Not going, oh yeah, this guy does this guy does his job. They're my oldest friends. What part about show not tell did you miss in reading E.L. James and writing?
See, listen, I like hate the experience of reading these kinds of books, but at the same time, it also heals my inner perfectionism because I sit here and it truly dawns on me that no, I can publish a book because if this shit's getting published, I know I can do it. Because I'm sitting here and you're talking about that scene, and my first thought is like, what if one of them made a best man speech that would very like in the dialogue of said best man speech, they're telling stories about like their childhood or like whatever. That's how you do it. And I'm like, if I can think of that in 0.5 seconds, I could write this book better than she can. And I think any of us could. Literally anybody could.
Yeah. Also, throughout these chapters, the fact that the friends are also like, are you sure you want to do this? Because everyone's like, you've only known her for like a couple of weeks and you're getting married to her. And I'm like, all of these people are reading my mind.
I fully agree. The only thing that detracted from the impact of that, and we'll get there when we get there, is that every single person had to come up and say it in a separate scene. And I was like,
that is the theme of this book. That is the theme of this book. Like, things just keep being brought up by different people at different times, constantly. And it's like, this has already passed.
Yeah, and it's not like they're contributing. Yes, it's not like they're contributing anything new to the discussion either. It's just literally they're all saying the same thing. I'm like, is this an episode of The Sims?
It makes me so mad. Like, I'm so mad.
You know what? We all need to sit down and do a special episode, which would be terrible because it's video game content on a podcast, but whatever. We need to create a Sims game where we create all like Sims for all these different characters and we have them just like freeform go about in their little like, how do we get some Darina? Like, you know, full on Simlish activities, and it would make for a better plotline than this.
Yeah, it would. It would. Also here, right before we get into more stuff too, I want to note, readers, the thing that also makes this reading painful is the constant POV switches. For me, it reads like kind of what we were talking about before with the fan fiction and how it's like no plot, just like this fiction. It feels like that, like on fan fiction, where you'll get like those really short things and then you're just going to a different character. That makes sense. But when we have no indication on why we're jumping in between these characters, it makes it read so much longer because literally they are just in two different places at the exact same time doing something. And then one will be like, oh, I have to go talk to this person. And then we'll jump back into that person's POV right after that person has already concluded something. And it's like, oh my God, I want to like rip my hair out. I want to rip it out.
This book is the epitome of turn-based combat, which I love. Turn-based combat. We're all D&D girlies. The problem is that works in games, not for books, because you're getting the same fight or the same conflict without anything new.
Exactly.
You're just seeing it from two different people.
Also, she never indicates who's talking. You just know that it's a POV switch because there's like a large capital letter right before.
There's also this weird thing, which I know we talked about in the Mister, but like I just need to bring it up again because it's never addressed. Why Maxim's POV is written in first person and Alessia's in third. It's never explained.
Yeah, it's never explained, and I don't understand it. Because I noticed that at one point, because it was like Alicia and Maxim, and I'm like, why are we talking like that? And I was like, oh, we're in Alicia's POV, right?
That's what I'm saying. Is that
it's the only she's not a person and he is?
I thought about that. The only like justification I could like scrounge up from this piss puddle about why that is because maybe this is supposed to be an indication that Maxim is telling the story. Like,
yeah.
Like, and he's just describing what Alessia did, but in which case, like, why you would change POVs is a bit awkward. I don't know. I
also noticed this. This is for later when we get into the actual erotica scenes. I noticed, and I thought this was weird coming from an erotica book, which I assume is targeted towards women. Majority of the sex scenes are in Maxim's POV.
I did not catch that. That's a very good observation.
I caught that. It was very interesting. Like a lot of the times, like when they're actually in the scene doing the deed, like not the foreplay, it's in Maxim's POV. And I was like, that's weird. That's weird.
I have a question because I blocked out this book from my memory. Does E.L. James ever really, like in the actual like intimate context, use the word vagina, or does she use just like other words?
Not that I can recall. I remember like heat and stuff like that.
Gross. That's what makes me wonder. I'm like, is she afraid to like? Does she think a vagina is like unsexy and therefore she's like?
I think he does. I feel like he uses the word pussy, but I can't remember.
I'm sure he does. He looks like a pussy man. I'm sorry. Not that it's a bad thing, but like you can just sometimes tell.
Well, he's British, so I thought he would say like cunt, but he doesn't.
God. How do you say? I'm sorry. I was just gonna be like pussy. Like how do you say?
We'll see. I don't know. But also whenever he goes like bro or dude, and I can't imagine it in a British accent. I can't do it. Anyway, we should actually get to the synopsis of this. They're getting married.
That was like 12 minutes of us screaming. Oh, I love it. I love it. This is going to be a mess.
We told you guys this is going to be unhinged.
I just can't. It's because we're making up for the lack of everything that occurred in this book.
Yeah,
we gotta fill the time. Okay,
yeah, because we have to. Because literally, it's all just like these things leading up to the wedding is just legalese, and then both being worried, and then them being like, "Do you want to do this? Yeah, I want to do this. Do you want to do this? Yeah, I want to do it."
I swear to God. And this way, I'm giving up. I'm just gonna read freeform from my notes.
Also, yeah, I have to mention this. How many times she mentions his green eyes? I hate it. I've never read the Spanish love thing, whatever that book is, Spanish Love Deception or something like that. Mm-hmm. I've heard it's very similar in that book where she's like, he opens his eyes and I see two blue orbs and like stuff like that constantly.
That's a fan fiction thing. I'm telling you, I think we figured it out. Like her background as a fan fiction writer just like really shows. Like,
it's so prevalent, and it's just like, you really don't know how to write, do you?
You know. Soda stream bottle on like down my throat.
If only we had video recording for that.
Did that pick up on mic?
It did a little bit.
Good. Listeners, I have a Soda Stream. What size is this? 840 milliliter bottle that I tried to shove down my throat. So, okay, I'm just gonna read freeform for my nose. I don't know what chapter we're gonna be talking about. I don't know. I need to have this as a guideline because I can't think anymore.
So we're on chapter 3 because that's when.
Are we?
Yeah, because that's when Antony randomly shows back up, literally the day after. And when Alicia's like, oh yeah, I should go get on the pill, shouldn't I?
Okay, hold on. Let me orient myself.
Scroll down a little bit, Ashlyn stock.
Oh no, we going off of mine.
Okay, I love it. Let's go.
All right, so I'm just gonna restate the last bullet point and then we'll move forward. Alessia's dad has arranged the wedding to occur in a week. Maxim is worried about the legitimacy of their marriage license if they wed in Albania, so he wants to get married in England, like we said. He ends up settling on doing a, quote, ceremonial wedding as a formality in Albania, and then, quote unquote, really getting married in England. So it's going to be like a for shits and giggles kind of wedding. Now, as they're wedding planning, there's a point where Maxim gets slobberishly drunk. And this doesn't really have any consequence, which you'll hear us say that many times throughout this recording. It's just a small scene, but basically he gets slobberishly drunk and then Alessia has to be the one to like guide him back to bed, and she undresses him for bed, and he's sitting here in his drunken mind. He's like, oh, I wish she'd fuck me. I want to fuck her. Blah, blah. And then she does not initiate any intimacy, because he's not conscious and cannot consent. And then Maxim is disappointed. He's disappointed. And I wrote, quote, but bro is blacked out. She's being responsible, dude. Yeah. So, yeah, there's that. I'm sure that was a tab.
Yeah, that was.
My next note is, quote, a whole bunch of nothing happens. So chapter 3.
Honestly, that is it. Because in chapter 4, nothing else really happens.
Oh my God. Alessia's family is starting to arrive for their wedding, including dun 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 Anatoly Ravioli, the man who kidnapped her in the last book.
Actually, no, that's still chapter 3, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. A whole bunch of nothing happens, and now we're at chapter 3.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. He basically shows up wanting to apologize, and he's all like, when I was wrong to go kidnap you from your country. Ooh. And then he tries to manipulate her into thinking she'll like never be accepted in England when she moves back there because she's Albanian. I guess we'll just totally forget about him shoving her in a trunk and holding her captive against her will.
Literally holding a gun to her.
Like literally the day before. Like, yeah. This is like 3 days later, max.
No, it's yeah.
And thankfully, Alessia has grown a backbone in like 3 days, and she tells him to leave. But dun dun dun, plot point that'll go absolutely fucking nowhere. Spoiler alert.
None.
The things that he says about her not like fitting into England culture actually sticks with her, and it bothers her a lot, and she starts like worrying about it.
The damn book.
I know, except they don't actually do anything with it, which I would argue would actually be a pretty decent plot line. Like,
yeah,
if this book was about her struggling to fit into the aristocracy and the expectations of like what an aristocrat wife does, and then Maxim like trying to force her into that, and her like having to come to terms with the fact that will never be her role and that he should accept her for who she is, that would be a dope ass book. But that's not
except she's like, I'm just going to assimilate, and also everyone's gonna fall in love with me right after they meet me.
She said, I'm going to go to finishing school, and then I'm going to go to parties like the Great Gatsby and the. I hate it.
I literally wrote down manor school. I forgot that etiquette school or like finishing school was the thing.
And don't we only really get to see one class that she goes to?
Yeah, barely. I think we get the introduction. We get the introduction of them talking about it.
Turn your books to 394. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anywho, Alessia and Maxim go to bang it out later that evening or whatever. Who cares?
They almost do. They almost fuck.
I know, because we got to tease the vanilla. He did not bring any condoms to Albania, but I wrote in my notes, and yet he remembered to stop for an engagement ring and bring his running shoes.
Yep.
The flag. Clearly, someone was not in a hurry to rescue their beloved.
Nope.
Regardless, So I just want to hear your thoughts on this, Sid. Maxim has this whole like conversation with Alessia where he thinks that it would be, quote, suspicious to go out and buy condoms because everyone's supposed to think Alessia's pregnant, right? So theoretically there would be no need for condoms. But my thing is like, how fucking small is Albania? Is she gonna walk out to, I don't know, their version of a Publix and like see her entire family there? Like, is that, I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah. I get, that too. Plus, he knows two people there. And if they're as like bro-y as they are, why couldn't one of them just run out for him? And then they'd be like, oh, why do you, then if they're like, oh, why do you need condoms? And Max can just go, oh, she's not actually pregnant. We want to have sex.
You're so right for that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because like I would get it if like they're the ones going out to like their pharmacy and it would look suspicious if they're buying condoms.
Yeah.
But he knows people. He has friends there.
They could also just be like, Maxim has crabs because he fucked half of England before he got to me. So
exactly.
I need to protect myself.
It's a surprise. I also have crabs, but we didn't want those crabs to like cross-populate and create super crabs.
We didn't want to recreate the 2013 internet sensation Blue Waffle.
No.
Don't look that up, kids. Don't look that up. Oh my God. But yeah, apparently she has ops at the grocery store and Maxim has no real friends. So yeah, they didn't get condoms and we got to drag that shit out.
But she's planning on going on the pill anyway and she's going to a doctor. Can she not go to the doctor and go, by the way, can I have condoms?
That's another good point. Oh my God. Because I feel like a lot of like OBGYN clinics have like just bowls of like protection that you could just take and like from.
I mean, this is our experience though here in the United States.
Sure,
obviously, we don't know what the OBGYN experience is like in Albania. But also she's able to get the pill fast.
I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this. So, yes, indeed, Alessia goes to Dr. Gitz on birth control and she's like, I'm gonna fuck. Fast forward a couple days and they basically do have sex only a couple days later, right? So she's been on the pill for like 3 days at maximum, right? Now, I'm not the expert on medication, right? But I would wager to guess that you would have to wait longer than 3 days for, assuming she's on a traditional like oral estrogen based pill, for that to actually like be in her system.
It takes about 3 months for it to be effective. I'm putting quotes around that. But like it can fail at any moment if you do not take it at the same time every day.
Yeah.
7 days. It takes 7 days. She is also when they do fuck on her period, because she does bring that up.
That's right. Good for Maxim. I guess he's willing to have period sex.
Yeah. The one green flag.
I guess.
He doesn't bat an eye at period sex.
But yeah, it just makes me wonder, with all of the supposed research that James claimed to do for this book, that she couldn't even pin down the mechanics of a birth control.
Yeah, it's just... oh my God. It's so painful. It's so goofy. Anyway, then remember what happens the next day when his best man is supposed to come into town.
Yes. So... here's where we actually get some action, kind of. Maxie's homies.
Conflict.
Maxie's? I just called Maxie. Maxie Pad's homies arrive in Albania.
Periods, so
I know. Arrive in Albania for the wedding, including some forgettable bro dudes that may or may not have been in the last book. We don't really care to remember. It's fine. His sister, Marianne, and Caroline, his old widowed flame that we mentioned previously that he used to fuck with. It's weird. And we mentioned this already, but all of them in their own individual scenes will come up to Maxim to ask if he's confident in proceeding with this marriage, which is obviously not an unreasonable ask because, you know, his he's known the girl for 2 months. And his relationship is so short-lived, steeped in trauma bonding, and lacking chemistry out the wazoo. But nonetheless, Maxim manages somehow to convince everyone, excluding Caroline, that him and Alessia are a good match and they deserve to be wed. Speaking of Caroline. Plot points.
I love her. She's a messy bitch. She's a messy bitch. I kind of love her.
I'm so glad you said that because I wrote a note. Hold on. Where is it? I said Caroline's character comes onto the scene with a bang. I was initially very excited for her to be one of the villains of the story and to try and sow a wedge between Alessia and Maxim. ... But that doesn't last for long.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. Anyway, so one of Maxim's useless no-name bro-do friends, I don't care, suggests that he tells Alessia about his intimate relations with Caroline because he's like, why haven't you had this conversation yet? You probably should. He's like, blah, blah. Long story short, these fuckheads decide, oh, let's wait till after the honeymoon to tell her. That's a good fucking idea. I'm sorry.
No.
If you're getting married, I'm a firm believer that you should know each other's sexual and dating histories. And if you don't tell your partner about your baggage, or at least the baggage that impacts them potentially, until after the altar, you're intentionally withholding information that could affect the course of your relationship and is effectively, I think, lying.
Yes.
I'm just that odd. I find that so weird.
It's weird.
But, Caroline's a queen and
messy bitch.
Oh, yes. And at some point she starts planting ideas and insecurities in Alessia's head before the wedding about how unprepared she is for assuming the role of Countess of Trevithick. Again, this is something that should have been considered before hitting the altar. So the fact that it was a surprising conversation for Alessia was a little weird, but I digress. Later on, Caroline also brags to Alessia about her relationship with Maxim. And quote, apparently they popped each other's cherries and Maxim was, quote, a better fuck than her husband, aka, his brother.
His dead brother that died a couple weeks ago. Also, Marianne said something. She was like, refined rakes make the best husbands. I'm like, that's your brother.
I was right about to say that. She drops this bomb not only in front of Alessia, but Maxim's sister, which is so fucking weird. I don't know.
I get it. They're blue bloods. They all fuck each other in the end anyway, and they're all intermingled in the first place. Honestly, I thought that... We'll get to it.
Yeah.
God. Oh, but then when Caroline forcefully is like, Maxim, I need to talk to you, the next morning.
And God.
Them talking, and then she just lets it slip. He's like, yeah, I didn't tell my mom. She's like, whoops, well, I did.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, because he unintentionally invited Rowena. That's his mother.
Yeah. Oh, this is day of the wedding too. This is day of.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's a little bit of a momager, if you will. She barely had a presence in the first book, if I recall. So it's interesting to see her become much more of a character in this one. But I digress.
Yeah.
So yeah, Caroline invites Rowena, and she shows up day of. Like a torrent, just full on, just running in there. She shows up with a new boyfriend as well. He's a younger guy. His name's Hershey or Heather or something irrelevant. I don't
It's Heath. Fuck. It's Heath. You were close. You were in the right connection with the chocolate.
I'm calling him Hershey. Hershey. Yeah. Hershey's just irrelevant. Almost all of her scenes and does nothing. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Rowena basically throws a bitch fit about how her son's, quote, marrying the help. That's an exact line. And not inviting her to the wedding. So, but she's here.
Yeah. She's there. And then they get married.
They do. They do get married. It was fine. There's not actually much to report until like the
There
reception
really
after
isn't.
party. There's not. It's not. The only
Like,
thing I
the
wrote
only thing
from
I'm-
you go.
No, you go. I was going to talk about when they get to the hotel.
Oh, okay. Just real quickly, the only thing I wrote from like the quote unquote reception is that at some point, some of the men on Alessia's side of the family invite Maxim to do a dance because apparently there's a traditional wedding dance done by the men in the family. And he puts like such a fit about it because he's like, oh, that's good girly to dance. I don't want to dance. I don't want to be seen dance. I'm like, bro, it's like a tradition. Just like, if you're not into it, that's fine. Just
Be a
grit and
dick.
bear it. Yeah.
Just don't be a dick.
I know. I just thought that was shitty, but yes,
Yeah.
at the hotel.
And then they leave and they go to a hotel because, you know, it's their wedding night. And this is when Alicia's like, but I am on my period. And Maxim's like, I don't care. I'm going to get my dick wet in any way, shape, or form. But do you want to know what I wrote down? Because this is funny. I thought this was funny because it
What?
mentions that she walks out in lingerie in a white thong. And I just went, white thong on your period. Very bold.
You're so right. Maybe she has the diva cup.
I don't know what she has. Either she has the diva cup or like the vagina muscles that just like keep all that shit in, like men think that we have.
She's got the wall from the Game of Thrones in her pussy. Just,
Basically.
for the North.
For the North.
And Maxim is the Night King. Destroying the wall.
Basically. But yeah, he's just like, go put a towel down. And then they fuck? I think they do.
They do. It was just so short and lackluster.
I don't even
and
remember
just-
it.
There's so many scenes where like you could argue that they have sex a lot in the book, but I would say more than half of them are like mentions of sex.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah, it just like
them
mentions
coming out
that
of
like,
sex.
oh. Yeah, or
Yeah.
it's them like, oh, we just had sex, like, and we just went like 2 times.
I just had sex.
And again, this is when I also have an issue when this is called erotica, because I'm like, for an erotica book, we're not getting much sex scenes, so it's fake advertising. And then yeah, we go to the Bahamas for their honeymoon. They fuck in the ocean, and I'm just like, hey, Twilight, Twilight.
Can I read you the line that I wrote about that?
Yes.
I'm reading it as follows. They go to the Caribbean for their honeymoon and have sex in the ocean. The queefing is gonna go crazy.
You're not wrong.
I don't know why that's why my mind went. I was just thinking I was like salt water and like on your period and like it was like
She's yeah.
the air
Oh my
pockets,
God.
man.
It's so bad. Oh my God.
Anywho, is there anything that happens between then and when they get back to England? Because I have nothing.
Honestly, no. I think they just bang a lot. Like that's it. Like it is a sexathon, and I'm honestly just sitting there being like, I'm surprised she's not pregnant. Like I'm not kidding. Throughout the rest of this book,
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna be like, I'm pregnant.
Well, she's been on the magic pill for 4 days. Of course she wouldn't be pregnant.
Yeah.
God. They returned to good old England. That's not, I don't know what accent that was.
Sorry,
and-
I'm also reading Ashlyn's notes here because she has a lot of notes for chapter 10, and I see her raising her hand.
Oh, yes.
So I was going to say something that plays into the faux drinking game that Lauren created before we started recording is we have several pages of them in customs in England in chapter 10.
Oh God.
And Alessia's
Yeah.
passport
we?
is fine. Like all this tension around, is her passport going to work? Nothing happened.
So like they
Uh-huh.
didn't have to get married then in Albania. Literally the whole scenes at the beginning, she didn't have to. Because like they also haven't applied for a visa yet, for a marriage visa.
I'm gonna throw my limp, gorgeous self off of a 10-foot tower.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm gonna go with you.
I'm gonna do it. You throw me first, and I'll jump after.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no wait. You jump after.
10 foot.
Yeah, that'll do.
I mean, I'm
One
like,
story. You'd survive that.
Not if there's
Listen.
concrete at the bottom.
I've been called
You'd
a
still probably survive.
I've been
I'm
called
going
a
head
liberal.
first, though.
I've been called a liberal snowflake so many times in my life. I think I'm fragile enough. You
I'm
know,
gonna make sure it works. I'm gonna do a swan dive.
Corinium first.
Yeah. God.
Lord have mercy. Apparently they run customs or whatever.
I don't even remember that.
I don't either. Clearly, I don't have notes on it. God, I might have skipped it. I have a bad habit of doing that when it's several pages of irrelevancy. I just end up skipping.
Okay, what's chapter 11? Did I miss? I may have actually.
So did you just skip the whole book or what?
Listen, I was just trying to spare us from having to do this review. Okay, you can't blame me for trying.
No, you're fine. Also, the fact that because I saw this note because Ashlyn, you put this in, which I think is weird too. Yeah, the Caroline keeps getting referenced as Lady Trevelthicke, and I'm like, that's not. She doesn't have the title anymore. That's Alicia's.
Whole plot point in the Mister of like her wanting to be with Maxim because it would secure her title and her fortune.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Even though she's already rich. She comes from an aristocratic family. It's revealed later that her stepmother is like from the Royal Music Academy and her daddy like does stuff with like with I don't know.
Either. That
Anyway, they fuck in chapter 11. That's kind of it.
yeah, and Maxim's like, do I want children? Do I want kids? And honestly, I cannot see
it.
bad. I would
No.
I feel bad for those kids. Anywho. So after more vanilla fucking, they basically get around to discussing preparing Alessia to be more involved in the Trevethick estate. And potentially sending her to finishing school, which is like the British aristocracy.
It's manner school.
Yeah, it's etiquette class for sure. And I wrote, and I quote, which I laugh at now. I'm very jaded. Finally, something of substance.
Yeah.
Little did I know. Little did I know.
Little did you know.
Damn. So Maxim returns to work as Oil a Trevethick. In which, honestly, honest to God, this entire book, apparently he's working. I couldn't tell you what he does.
Yeah. He manages the estates. He learned how to farm and learned about gin.
Just. Yeah.
That's about it. That's all I know. Also, the fact that Alicia is like seeing all the property he owns and she's like, how many stuff does he own? I'm like, girl, you don't know?
Yeah, it's just so clear that he did not prepare her for this role or this life and just thrusting her into it. But again, like that could have made a good book because like it'd be like, oh, well, Alessia's adjusting to the, but nope.
Well, there's like parts of that because she always talks about how like insecure she is being around these other ladies who have, you know, grown up in this environment and all of that. And she's like uncomfortable, but it's done so poorly. Like it just doesn't even come across.
Yeah.
She also, at this point in the book, which got so annoying because like I understand why this character would do it, but she kept bringing up this one specific girl that was trigger warning, was trafficked alongside her and she doesn't know if she got her way. And her name is Bellarana. I don't know.
Biliana?
I don't know, something like that. And like for the rest of the book, randomly, she's just like, I feel so bad. This could have been me. I need to find this girl, this one specific girl. And it like, I couldn't tell what the tone of the book was. you know,
there was no tone.
There was no tone. Like, because it would go from them, like, I couldn't, like, this can't be advertised as like a romance, and it can't be advertised as an erotica, but then like at times it's trying to be like a dark romance because it's trying to bring up like these darker tones.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't get it. It's really random. And like I understand these could be the thoughts of someone who is like going through this traumatic event trying to understand it, but like also, I love the fact that even though Maxim has all this money, he's never once offered to his wife, hey, do you want to go get therapy for that very traumatic events that happened to you? So you can process it.
That's another note that I had for this book, actually, because to me, I put Alessia's trauma was such a suffocating piece of the first book to the point where I feel like her whole character was reduced to nightmares and just constant living in fear. And
or being
I think
jealous of the women around her. Like that was it.
Yes. And that was truly it. And I think that's so problematic in and of itself, but at least it was something. Like she had character. And this book, not only did I feel like her trauma was just completely dropped to a degree, like it was just like it just felt like it wasn't relevant anymore except for the occasional nightmare. But also its absence was not replaced with any character growth, like whatsoever. And it was so sad to watch because I, in my opinion, think she's the best character in the series, which is not saying a lot, but still.
No. But yeah. They, he's trying to like show her around and all that. But chapter 12. That's where we get conflict. And I'm saying that whisper because it's literally just a dusting of conflict because it doesn't do anything. But it's like the rest of the book is centered around this particular plot point.
Yes. So we're given sort of the introduction to both Alessia's side quest and Maxim's side quest. And I'm going to think about this in terms of a video game. I think so Alessia has another bad dream, and then she like basically it like prompts her to want to start looking into Beliana or Beliana. We're probably going to butcher that, but like Sydney said, is the girl that she was trafficked alongside, and she's like considering like, oh, like, you know, should I hire a private investigator? Like just kind of thinking about the beginnings of the steps. So that's going to be one piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle.
Oh, also, she wants to look into her grandmother's family, which is non-consequential, but
I forgot about that.
You forget about all the different subplots that lead to nowhere.
I just, God, she wants to look,
She wants to load it with quote-unquote conflict because there's no plot.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, God, where am I? Oh, here it is.
Like, where do you begin?
I know. So Maxim goes into his office at one of his rich bitch houses, I assume. And Caroline enters. And this office was previously Kit's, I believe, or at least like houses a bunch of his shit. And, you know, I guess him like
it's the official Trevelyan like office.
The official Trevelyan office. I love it. Yeah, no, and he's like, I guess like trying to move in and like get settled, and he's going through things of Kit's. And Caroline comes in and she hands him some papers. And apparently Kit, not long before his death, had gone to a doctor seeking genetic testing. But, you know, as the pair rifle around this office, they don't find any of the things that they would expect to find, like his journals, any related documents, notes, anything. It's all been wiped from the office. So he obviously this leads Maxim to kind of like freak out because he's like, oh my God, Kit was my brother. What if this is like genetic testing? Like, should I be concerned about something? Thinking about having kids, blah, blah. It's going to go ahead and just leave this an open-ended question. If this was you, what would your first what would your first line of thinking be? Because for me, it would be maybe I should get myself tested to rule out that this was heritable.
Exactly.
Do you want to know what Maxim did? Not that.
No.
He did not do that.
Why would he?
It only would have saved us about 50 pages, but it's whatever.
Yeah.
Anywho, so he decides that he's going to call Kit's old doctor, which I said, and I quote, ... HIPAA? Question mark.
Exactly. He was like, yeah, maybe he could tell us something. And I was like, he's not going to.
Fucking can't. I can't.
Can I say too, when we get this reveal of the genetic testing, I literally wrote down, and of course there's genetic issues. You're from the British aristocrats. You're inbred as fuck.
Allegedly, for entertainment purposes only, the Raunchy Power Hour is not accusing the British royal family of being full of incest.
Only 1/3 of the RBH podcast is accusing them of being full of incest. Literally, the Queen married her cousin. You can't say that and they're not incesty.
Saying is that Kate Middleton at the time of this recording is currently MIA, and I just don't want to end up like her.
I heard she got a BBL, and I'm like, you go for it, girlfriend.
I heard that she's stepping down from the royal family and that she's getting a divorce. Divorce, babes.
I mean, divorce, babes, divorce. Ooh, what if it's a divorce BBL?
It's her version of the revenge dress.
Love it. Go for it, Kate. Go for it.
Can't see her with a BBL. Anyway. Yes. So anyway, basically Maxim returns back home to their London apartment and sees all shit ton of paparazzi outside. They're wanting to get the scoop on Maxim's whirlwind romance because he hasn't made any public statements about his new bride. He walks inside and there's a comment where he's literally like, I'm not used to this level of attention. And I just want to say, this indicates to me that the presence of the paparazzi is new. So my question is, if Maxim wasn't getting news coverage before as being a loose, I assume anyway, fictional member of the royal family, why would marrying a random girl from Albania change that? Like, this feels like a weird plot hole to me, and further evidence that Maxim does and is effectively nobody in the grand scheme of the British aristocracy, despite what's being force-fed to us in the narrative by James of like, he's super rich and important, I promise. Like,
well, he's not related to. He could be like very, very far down the line.
It's very loosely, yeah.
Yeah, but he's probably in like the House of Lords or something. Anyway, but yeah, honestly, you know what could have like fixed this whole. This is another little subplot that literally is no consequence of like the paparazzi coming around. Literally, he could have just sent a statement from his office going, "Yes, I have married. I will not reveal the identity of my wife at this very moment. Please respect that."
Like, dude's rich. He could easily just like pay them off to like leave. They're only in it for a check, essentially.
Exactly.
It's so stupid.
It's so bad. It's so
anywho, around this time, Alessia and Maxim go to an immigration lawyer to make sure Alessia can live in England with Maxim. And to our fucking surprise, this is where we meet Letitia. Letitia.
No, we've met her before.
Oh, I know. That's what I was about to say. We meet Letitia, who, if anyone recalls from like the very first chapter of The Mister, was the Dami mommy with the long fingernails that freaked Maxim out in bed because she wanted to do something other than vanilla sex.
He was like, oh God, she wants to do something else. She wants to do something spicy. I can't do it.
Like, all she literally wanted to do, like, if I recall, was like being tied up and like nail scratching. And he was like so freaked out. Like, he could not handle it. God.
Only missionary.
She's all nail scratchy, and he ties her up because he doesn't like nail scratchy.
Oh, that's so stupid.
It's so dumb.
It's so fucking stupid. But we had to bring literally every single pointless side character back from the Mr. into the Mrs. Because why?
Of course,
I don't know.
that too. Because of course, too, when we first meet her, I didn't remember who she was. It wasn't until later when they mentioned that he and the lawyer had slept together. I was like,
wait a minute.
I was like, I remember you now.
Something's in the water. Tastes like my sexual transgressions.
Exactly. And then throughout this whole thing, Alicia, this is when we get to the plot point. This is really when it got so annoying for me, is when Alicia keeps being self-conscious about all of this.
Oh my god, I know.
She's the most self-centered, self-conscious person I've ever read.
I know. I'm actually going to throw her a little bit of a bone in this. As someone that used
she gets
to
enough
be...
of Maxim.
That's so true. As someone that used to have a jealousy issue and has grown from it, I can kind of see where she's coming from, because I think she's realizing in real time the sheer number of people that Maxim has slept with. And that's hard to see. I would totally understand if he hadn't slept with that many people, and that would be one thing, I think. But for me, if I was dating someone that was never 100% candid and straightforward with me about their sexual history, and I'm meeting literally every single person wherever I go as someone that he has fucked or dated, I would lose my mind, actually.
And the fact he has two ginormous photographs of naked women's backs in your bedroom.
When that happened, I screamed. I actually screamed. I was like, what do you mean you have nudes of women you slept with in your bedroom as a married man? And your bedroom at all, actually, but certainly as a married man.
Blown up large, too. And he's like, it's my photography business. And I'm like, that's what every...
Eat it shepherd's pie, Maxim. Truly.
Eat a shepherd's pie.
Eat a haggis, honestly.
Yeah.
God.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But we're back in the visa plotline that nobody gives a shit about. The lawyer tells them to apply for a family visa and they'll be fine, which is confusing considering the very next chapter, Maxim pitches the idea of Alessia going to music school so that way she could potentially file for a student visa. And I'm truly confused because I'm like, they were just told by an immigrations lawyer that their best and pretty much secure chance was getting a family visa, and they did not really suggest any other licenses.
But and then the student visa is important for the rest of the book, and I'm like, why? Yes. She has the family visa. She's married to a British, a United Kingdom citizen. Not only that, an Earl. She's fine.
I know. And I'm like, why couldn't we have just redacted that? Because I understand the music school as being a plot line that I actually wish we got more of. But
yeah,
they
but couldn't have just been because she's actually passionate and not just her being worried about staying in the country. She's because her whole thing too throughout the rest of this is she wants this partnership to be fair, which in reality it can't be because of his financial status. Let's just say that right now.
Yeah.
But instead of it just being because she wants to be passionate about piano and becoming a performer, it also has to be about her being an immigrant and trying to get a student visa and put that pressure on her. And I'm like,
yes,
it doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense.
I know. And
hey, if we're wrong, let us know. Tell us if we're wrong.
Yeah, I just didn't know you needed to collect visas like a Pokemon deck. I just didn't think that was the way that immigration works.
I choose you, student visa.
Yeah. God. But yeah, God forbid we have any plot. Truly.
No.
Truly. Anyway, they fuck again at some point in Vanilla Extract. But it's whatever. It's just so stupid. But we are back at the whole kit and genetic testing plot line, which is literally my favorite plot line in this entire fucking book for all the wrong reasons.
All the wrong reasons.
I love it.
So throughout this entire thing, Maxim is not telling Alicia about the genetic issues too. I think we
Literally
need to
none.
clarify that. We need to clarify that real
like,
quick.
I'm like, y'all are actively thinking about having little children's running around your apartment. You need to tell her. You need to tell her.
But they also haven't talked about kids too. They don't talk about it for a while.
No, they're both thinking it, but they just don't have the conversation. It's really dumb.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're totally right. He does not say a word to her, which again is just so reminiscent of the whole I'll wait till after the honeymoon to tell her that I fucked Caroline, but it's whatever. So back to the Kit plot line. Maxim does visit Kit's old doctor, who makes a comment that he's surprised that Kit didn't disclose his medical information to Maxim, but that regardless, even though he's dead, he can't share that information because, a British equivalent of HIPAA probably exists.
I believe HIPAA is the Hippocratic Oath.
Right, yeah. But it's like it's patient provider confidentiality, and that's like, he can't break that. And Maxim has the audacity to be outraged, and he's literally cussing him out, calling him like a half-baked bastard or something like that. It's insane. And he's like yelling and he's demanding answers. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, what did bro honestly expect? What did you expect?
Yeah.
Like,
he's been given everything his entire life, so what else?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, would you not be the slightest bit concerned that anyone could walk into a doctor's office and ask for your own medical history? Like, does that not occur to you? I don't know. Regardless, the obvious solution, like we mentioned, to this problem would be Maxim getting tested for himself. But does he? Absolutely not. He decides to instead go to his momager to ask about it.
Yep.
Bro, just get tested. Basically, long story short, they're back at the apartment. It's just fucking doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They have more conversations about like, how many women did you really fuck? Letitia's got under my skin, blah, 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 whatever. And then in the middle of this, Rowena calls Maxim back and she swears at him in her whole like rich white woman tizzy. He presses her for info on Kit, but she flat out refuses, saying, quote, "It has nothing to do with you," which to me at the time I was reading, I was like, is she setting up her... I know. I was like, is she setting up her last living child? Or sorry, I forgot about Marianne clearly, but is she setting up her last living son to fail? The fuck? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, if she cares so much about this, like, earldom and all of that, and like continuing the family line.
I know, but regardless, this fucking during this phone call, he's like avoiding Alessia's questioning because obviously she's like, what was that about, and he's like, nothing, darling, let me take you shopping like any good woman likes, shopping for clothes.
Exactly.
I'm like, shut the fuck up, Maxim. Shut up. I hate him. Yeah, anyway, they just have like a weird argument, if it's even an argument. I don't know. Like you said, the tone in this book is hard to read.
I don't know.
Again, it's more of that debate of like,
I'm getting defeated as this recording goes.
My microphone. Sorry, I tried to bash Maxim's head in. I'm really trying to get out of this recording in any way possible, clearly. God. Yeah. Long story short, they come back from Burlington Coat Factory. That's not at all where they go, but the Burlington Coat Factory. And when they're back home, they try to like make up and like, hang out and like kiss around and like whatever, like, oh baby, it's only you, whatever shit. Except for the fact that Alessia is also hiding shit from him, and then he's still hiding shit from her. Trustful marriage. And then they go to this isn't the Call of Duty scene, is it?
Chapter 16. Yes, it is.
All right. Call of fucking Duty happens. So the scene goes as follows, where Maxim is like, oh, I'm really stressed out. I want to de-stress and play video games. And like, she's like, oh, can I play with you or whatever? And he's like, yeah, but I want to play stuff like that I can actually win. Like I want to just de-stress whatever, which is such a weird man thing to say. And then he tries to teach her how to play, and then E.L. James uses the word console in place of game controller, which I found funny. Yeah. And then they play Call of Duty. They don't say which game of Call of Duty it is, but they play the Call of Duty. Yeah, and as they're playing, like, it's supposed to be some like sexual, like, foreplay kind of thing of like they're teasing each other, trying to mess each other up while they're playing. Whatever, right? And then they end up having sex. And
this is where I literally I said out loud to my partner, "What?" Because guys, it is such a tonal shift. Like, it is them playing games, and then literally he's like, "I'm in between her legs." licking her, and I'm like, what, is she still playing the game? Like, what are we doing? Turns out it's later, and they're talking about like their duty in the bedroom and like more bad jokes about it, and I was just like, what just happened?
I just love the imagery of Maxim being like, lock in, babe, lock in, no scope him, no scope, and then he's like down there doing you know, ABCs or whatever, and she's like locked in,
or she's like, or he's like, just ignore the guys in the lobby, and they're just like yelling slurs at each other because, you know, it's Call of Duty.
Oh my god! Oh, I hate to see it. Yeah, but anywho, the last chapter that I will be covering, thank God, released me from my shackles, is chapter 17, where we're left on a bit of a cliffhanger for both of our side quests. So Alessia, which I forgot to like explicitly state, but at some point Alessia kind of goes behind Maxim's back, despite his like reluctant willingness to support her in wanting to find Biliana or whatever. Basically his whole concern is like he's anxious for her safety and getting wrapped back at it. Well, she kind of goes behind his back and hires a PI of her own volition. And the PI has returned to her with information on both on her grunkle is what we're going to call him. That is her great uncle. His name is Tobias, and fun fact, he's still alive and was a professor of music and living literally like a stone's throw away, which is so convenient. It's so convenient. Yep.
We love convenience for convenience sake.
Yes. And so she's like, I'm going to go meet my grunkle. And then, of course, she doesn't go and tell Maxim that she plans to meet Grunkle. A lot of other nothingness happens. And then the last thing to talk about in chapter 17.
Yeah.
The last thing to talk about is... So, basically... Okay, I can't stop laughing.
Oh, no.
This is just the dumbest fucking plot. So, basically, Maxim has leapt, sprung, and jumped to conclusions that whatever this mysterious condition is that Kit had, because we're back on that bullshit, whatever mysterious condition that he had was the reason that he apparently deliberately crashed his motorcycle and killed himself.
Yeah.
And
then Caroline also is just like, yeah, I share that same thought. And it's like, we're jumping leaps and bounds, y'all.
Y'all share a singular rich brain cell, and I strive to lack the anxious level of critical thinking that you people clearly do not have. Like, I strive for that.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much it. I know that's basically like a limp dick of an ending, but
yeah, because like
that's all we got for you.
That's all we got, guys. Like, this is hard to kind of summarize this because literally everything and nothing happens.
Exactly. So much and so little. And I need to take like a barbiturate or something.
I don't smoke, but I feel like I need a cigarette.
I really do. I really do. Ashley, do you have questions for us?
I'm so glad you asked. Of course I have questions for you. It's my favorite part of the day. So, my first question. Of the many red flags that Maxim exhibits during the first section, which is the most disturbing to you?
Sorry, Lauren snorting in the background. I think the one that is most disturbing to me is how angry he gets so quickly. Like that's such a huge red flag. Especially when it like comes to being anxious, when like Alicia, like he can't see her right away and how anxious he gets. Like I get it. She's been through a lot, so he's anxious about her safety. But like it gets to the extreme where he'll like yell at her. And I'm like, you also need therapy. You need to take a chill pill.
Yes. And that comes out really badly in the second half of this. To a degree that made me uncomfortable. In the first half, I think to me it was a little more bearable in the first half. I think, and this is a continuation from his issues in the first book, I think his constant need to solve issues, or specifically Alessia's issues, with taking her shopping and like letting her do her, because it gives me the vibe of like, I don't know if anyone here has seen Why Women Kill, the first season of that.
I want to. It's on my to-do list.
I've watched it on TikTok. It's a very popular show that they splice up on there. And without spoilers, it gives me the vibe, because this is like in the first ever scene, it gives me the vibe of their relationship dynamic, the main couple in the movie, because it's so like,
it's a TV show.
Or sorry, TV show. Yeah. It's like, it's so like she's definitely a trophy wife. And then there's like some scene where she raises like, oh, I want to go out and have hobbies and like do things. And it truly takes Rob a moment to be like, why would you want to do that? And I think it reminds me a lot of that of Maxim giving Alessia this like music school thing and like this piano as like means of like, haha, women and their trivial hobbies. I'm gonna go take care of my big boy shit and then make sure that she's home like a bird in her cage, and then sometimes I'll take her shopping with my supervision. It's really odd and I don't like it.
It's just the rich and English version of what was going of the sexism that was trying to be portrayed in Albania.
Yes, absolutely.
How do you feel about Caroline and Maxim's utter lack of boundaries in this book so far?
It's so weird. I don't understand why Caroline does not get the hint. Like, by the end of the book, I'm still convinced she's in love with Maxim.
I honestly eat it up because at least it gives me sustenance.
At least it's something.
Anytime Caroline is in a scene, I'm like, I feel like I've been awakened from my 1,000-year slumber, like full on vampire Dracula style, like, like, you know.
Also, like, too, I don't know why he keeps entertaining it. Like, yes, I know she was your sister-in-law, but you don't have to like encourage her to do interior design for you. You don't have to text her. You can, when she throws the surprise brunch at your place, you can be like, hey, this is out of pocket, leave, and then change all your codes. And then also make her move out of your family apartment and have her stop using the title name. But what do I know, you know?
God.
But she's a messy bitch and I love her, so
I do. She's the definition of Delulu is the Salulu, and I love that for her.
I've never heard someone say the Delulu is a Salulu, and that might be my new life goal. Like
it's
what I strive my life to be.
Indeed.
At this point, if you had to predict the major conflict for this book, what would it be? Where would you be at?
I'm on it. I'm on it like a house on fire. So I, at this point, thought that the genetic condition that Kit had, I didn't think it was the reason that he had killed himself per se, like, because I actually never suspected that he had died intentionally, but I did think it was going to be something that would impact Maxim and Alessia's future kids, or at least for the duration of the book, like we thought it would, because I thought like wherever they end up going with this, like at some point around the climax of the book, Maxim would find out whatever this said condition is, find out that it's heritable, and then freak out because he doesn't want the Trevor Thick line to die with him or whatever. And like it would be, but
he also doesn't like want to share it. Yeah.
Yes. And then Alessia would feel insecure because she wouldn't be able to have kids, or like at least, you know, kids the way that she probably traditionally envisioned with Maxim, and that it would be this whole thing. And I didn't actually foresee anything coming out of her side quest, really. I actually kind of anticipated it being a flop, considering what we had so far. Of like, oh, they meet and then that's
real. It. I'll be real. I thought the conflict would be the genetic thing too, and they find out in the next half that Alicia is pregnant while they're trying to figure out if Maxim has it, which would have been so much more interesting. But no, we didn't get that.
Yes. I also thought there would be more with the visa. Like I thought something would fall through, or like
or there was an actual issue.
Yeah,
and
and then
you can't do a family visa plus a student visa.
You can't do the bundled car and rental insurance.
Oh my
God. Flow from Progressive to the day off.
God. But Ashton, do you have any other questions for us, or is that it? That's it?
That's
I have been released.
So, well, Lauren has been released from her review.
It's your turn
synopsis, now. For the synopsis. Guess what, guys? Tune in next time to hear my synopsis of the last half of The Misses by E.L. James. Please let us know what you thought of this review, and let us know if you decided to also waste your time and read this book. Go follow us on Spotify, on Google Music, and kind of wherever you get your podcasts. Go look us up on YouTube. We do have a Twitch. Still don't have anything on there yet, but maybe someday we will. We also are on social media. So we've got Instagram, TikTok, X. We've got all those things. So go check us out on there. And tune in next time to listen to our second half of The Misses. And you know what? We'll talk to you later, you sexy scoundrels.
Join us next week for our second episode of The Misses, where we will discuss our final thoughts on the book. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Raunchy Power Hour. Find us on Instagram and Twitter at the RPH Podcast. Send us book recs to our email, raunchypowerhour@gmail.com, or at the link in our bio on any of our socials. As always, stay raunchy.